I guess now kind of moving back to the spiritual side of things, um, is there a part of you that, oh no, have you ever been in a house at times where you kind of think, man, I could have maybe put the salesman aside and maybe been a little bit more spiritual with this person? Like, have you ever felt called to have like a spiritual conversation with people
Yeah,
before? Or
yeah. I mean, the way you asked that question, I felt like it was two. So the first one being if I've ever felt like I needed to put the salesman aside, not so much because I don't feel like
okay,
just because of my past, I'm kind of my whole mission in life is to not be there. I'm
yeah,
wearing two wristbands that say always be serving. My chest says always be serving.
yeah,
All of our paraphernalia, our hats. I even have custom Nike shoes on that match the colors. So this is like who I am now. So
yeah,
there's no way that that would be happening in a home. And quite honestly, like I said, I'm training companies, so I've usually got someone there that's watching me.
hmm,
Now, the second question, have I ever felt like I needed to have a conversation with someone?
yeah,
100%. And have I ever been viewed as a salesman on a job site? 100%. So I can think of one specifically that just happened this earlier this year. I was in Houston on a job site with a company, and the company had replaced the lady's main water line. Her husband had died 3 months previous to this. She was an
mm,
elderly lady. I don't want to say she was old, but she was elderly. She was in her mid to late 70s, and she was very exasperated from the whole thing.
hmm,
So they replaced the main water line, which is we're talking 3 or 4 thousand bucks, maybe even a little bit more. I don't know how much this one costs. And then she has an additional leak, so she doesn't trust the diagnosis from the same company. So she gets another company out there, and they repipe the whole house. So now she's replaced her main water line from the street to the house, and now she just so now we're talking probably $13,000 to $18,000. And then guess what? A week later, she's got water in the yard again, and
hmm,
she's feeling like everyone's just ripped her off.
mm,
I fly into town to do 2 days of training.
yeah,
Lucky me. And I get the girl out on this call. So I'm out in the yard, and what I realized was it was most likely her irrigation. She just all of her plumbing had failed because it was all old. When I
okay,
got there, the house had been replaced. The plumbing in the house had been replaced, and the line had been replaced, but the irrigation was still old. So what I wanted to do was dig down and cut in two isolation valves to shut the water off
sure.
to determine which line it was.
And
And
this is just a tad bit off topic, but whenever you guys do that, are you guys like sonar using sonar
no, we
or?
have to dig up the ground, cut the line, install a shut-off valve, shut it
Okay.
off, then go back and check the meter to see if the water stops leaving the line.
Ah,
When
okay,
I shut that line
okay,
off and the meter stops, I know the leak's on that line. If it's on
okay,
an irrigation line, we're actually out, and we say call irrigation.
gotcha.
If it's on a plumbing line, then we would say, oh, that's us. The first time we were out
Okay,
there, it was on the plumbing line, so they
yeah,
replaced that line. It was still on the plumbing on the inside, so then that got replaced,
okay,
and it's still now on the irrigation. But we had to fix the first two to find the third, if that makes any
gotcha.
sense,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
they kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
work in series in different ways. So
yeah.
either way, you're looking at this situation now where you've got this third problem, and she's confused. She thinks it's related back to the first two. So I'm telling her we got to dig down. Well, that, like I just said, you got to dig down. That's just an hour or two of work. It's going to cost money.
Sure, sure.
And before I can even get into that, and the whole scenario is obviously we're going to do it for free because, but she goes, what'd she say? She looked at me and she goes, you know what? You guys are just out here to take advantage of me. You're just like the rest of them. Do whatever you need to do. Charge me whatever you're going to charge me. I just need someone I can trust. She starts to cry. She kind of spins around. Uh, she's wearing her emotions on her sleeve,
A little
and she's
distraught.
walking down the sidewalk up, then headed back up to the house. And I was just like, my whole goal in that moment was just to prove to her that we weren't like whatever she just accused us of being. So I spun around, I went up to the front doorstep, and I said, look, the last thing I want you thinking is we're here to take care of you. Let's forget about that. I'll do all this for free. I'm not even worried about money. Tell me what's going on. And so she tells me the whole story. That's how I find out her husband just dies. I didn't know that at the time. So now I learned that her husband died 3 months ago. He promised that he wouldn't leave her with these problems. He passes away. Her real emotions start to come out. I start to realize her anger ain't with us. Her anger ain't with any. Her anger is with her ex husband, and not even that she's angry at him. She's angry at the situation. She doesn't know how to deal with it.
Sure.
So I said, okay, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna go. You go inside. I want you to take a moment. She let me pray with her right there.
Really?
Yep.
Did you offer to
I
or?
offered. I said,
Really?
I'm gonna pray for you. She said, would you do it now? I said, yep. So then I offered to just, I asked permission to pray for her is actually how it went down on my own. Then she asked me if I would do it right then. So we did it right then. So then she goes inside. I go back out. Um, the dude that I'm
Wow.
with is watching all this, by the way, that works for
Wow.
the company.
Yeah.
He's a believer. So now he's the relationship between me and him are growing, right? So now he can trust
Yeah,
my
because he saw what
advice.
you. Yeah.
So
Wow.
now we come out, we dig down, we cut in
Wow.
the lines, we find out it's the irrigation, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
We go back inside, and I'm like, let's just kind of look around. And we found this one other issue with her venting on a thing. We had that taken care of for her. And at the end of the day, it was just like I wanted to prove her. Well, here was the cool thing. So now we're an hour later, maybe an hour and a half later. We're
Hmm.
inside of her home now, and this is what she said. She said, "Last night I cried in bed praying that God would send someone in my life I could finally trust." She's like, "I think He sent you," which was such a contrast because at the beginning of the call, she was like, "Hey, you're just like the rest of them. You're gonna try and rip me off." And so those are the moments. We didn't even make any money on that call. We just did the work for free because we'd already did work for her, and clearly she was going through it. And it was like, what I mean,
Yeah.
so and it would have been probably 700-800 bucks worth of work. It wasn't going to change the life of the plumbing company,
Yeah.
but it was going to change her perception. And so that's what we did. So we got approval to just do it for free. We got
Yeah.
approval, did the work. I don't own the company, so I can't make that decision. But
Right.
I was advocating hard for it. You know, like, hey, can we just do this? I'll pay for it. Like, can we just get this done?
Yeah.
And I'm good friends. Anyways, the owners are good people.
Yeah.
We didn't have to convince them.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's one that sticks out to this day. Um, like how that was probably one of the most spiritual moments I've had on a job site.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful because I remember um I went through something similar. One of my first jobs actually whenever I was working in HVAC was just like a quality inspection or something like that. And it was some little old lady um and she was selling her house and she was just making sure everything was all up and good with it. She had an inspector come out. Inspector said, "Well, there's all sorts of water damage
Mm,
in your attic, and it's gonna cause damage here and then damage here, and the HVAC system is it's completely just gone to crap and all this sort of stuff." And she's like worried about it, and she's 70 years old. She's not climbing up into the attic, so she definitely was just like, "I feel like I'm being ripped off." And that's why she called us to go out there do
mm.
a quality inspection. And I remember whenever I went up into the attic, I had one of those like sort of high powered like handheld flashlights, and I'm just kind of like looking around. And as I'm looking around, like I'm not seeing like water damage or anything like that. Like just kind of like just some old wood after, years and years of being a house, essentially. And I'm kind of looking around like, okay, well, I'm not seeing any water damage. The unit's over here. I go over to it, and it's on some plywood on like the ceiling joists. And I'm kind of really making sure I'm looking around the unit. There's no signs of water damage around the unit. There's no signs of water damage on the plywood. So then I kind of move some of like that, like pink cotton candy insulation out of the way. And I'm looking actually like on the actual like drywall ceiling for like any sort of water damage or anything on the
Nothing.
joist. Nothing. Nothing. So either there was a small bit of water damage that occurred that day or anything. And I even was like looking up too. And I was just like, I don't see anything that could have caused this. There's no holes. Maybe there's like a very small leak or something, but I'm not seeing anything. There's no residue. There's no just evidence of any of this. And I remember whenever I went back down, I was taking photos of everything too. And when I went back down, uh, she was like just big eyes. Was just like,
What'd you
how,
find?
what'd you find? Like, is it okay? Like, and her voice was even kind of shaky a little bit. And I was just like, no, I didn't find anything in here of the photos I took. And just the tears that just started to come from her. And I got a big old hug too. And that was kind of different for me because I was always just kind of like, oh, like you don't like there's boundaries with customers. And so I was just like, well, okay, I'll give her a hug back because obviously this is an emotional moment for her. Um, but it was bittersweet, and I don't know if maybe you felt this way or have ever felt this way, but it was bittersweet for me. Because like while I felt good about the good that I did do for this little old lady that I could do at that time, I still was bitter about it because I was like, wow, like there's an asshole out there that really just tried to screw her over and take full advantage of this situation, and that pissed me off.
Well, that's how I feel about all the online coaches and gurus out there because I got drunk on the internet
Yeah.
Not I didn't get drug on the internet. I got drug onto the internet. I haven't been drug yet. I'm just waiting for my moment.
Yeah.
But no, I mean I got
Like
so
it was
I
a completely different kind of evil I've ever
and
seen.
that's what we see with this stuff, and they take advantage of business owners. Then they get business owners to take advantage of customers,
Yeah.
and it's a reciprocal effect. Yeah, I mean, I've been in a lot of scenarios in homes where they've been told or quoted something that they don't need or it's false. I
Yeah.
was just in one 2 days. What's I don't even know what week it is, but it couldn't have been that long ago. A week or two ago, I went in a home
Hmm.
here locally with a plumbing shop,
Okay.
and first time I've ran a local call in years, but that was interesting. But yeah, the guy was under the impression that his plumbing system was going to just kind of explode, not like in a fiery explosion, but the burst.
Like water
They,
pressure or something?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we
Okay.
took his water pressure, and it was 72 pounds, which is right where it's supposed to be. So it's like, what I mean, you can get it down to 55 or something, but
Sure. Was it
they.
like a well system or
Nah,
something?
it
Oh,
was
okay.
city, but it was an area that doesn't typically have high water pressure. Just someone
Ah,
told them.
okay.
They just said they had real high water pressure, and their lines are going to burst. And that was it. And then they
Okay.
tried to sell them a PRV and an expansion tank and a new water heater and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But you see this all the time. And like I said, it's either the guy that's going in there blindfolded and just fixing the bare minimum thing,
Hmm.
or it's the guy going in there and selling people a bunch of stuff they don't need. And there should be a mix. I will say this with I'd say this with sales in general,
Hmm.
but I would even say this in life. Think about knee surgeons and brain surgeons. If the bigger problem you solve, the more value you bring, the more money you make.
Yeah.
That's just gonna go. So if you call me because your toilet's running and it's making an annoying noise, that's not gonna have the same value. I'm not gonna make the same money as in a career if that's what I'm solving
Hmm.
versus finding an underlying issue that keeps your plumbing from failing on you and causing that $10,000 problem. So that's what I tell the plumbers all the time is like, look, have confidence that your trade's worth a lot of money because you solve big problems.
Hmm.
And then just trust the fact that plumbing is aging and stop ignoring the other things going on in the home and give the customer the choice.
Hmm.
And if people would stop being so greedy and trying to trip over dollars to pick up dollars,
Yeah.
they could see that sometimes they can meet the customer in the middle. If you go to a convenience store and buy a soda, it's going to be expensive. Chips, it's going to be expensive because they got to
Yeah.
have 1,000 different
Oh,
things there
dude,
for you.
this at a concert,
Oh, it's like $10.
like $10 or something,
And how?
dude.
What is it?
Yeah. I don't even know how to pronounce. I would. Sorry to all the Hawaiian people. Waiakea water.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that. But that's probably like $5 or $6 at the gas station
It was 4.
for, and then it's probably 225 in a case at Costco. But you got to buy like
Yeah.
a small ocean's worth.
Yeah.
I used to when I did stand up comedy back in the day. I
Yeah.
did that. I used to say that I'd be like, go to Costco and you got to get a keg of Gatorade and a barrel of ketchup. Yeah, they make you got to get the whole cow like U-Haul
Yeah.
trucks out in the parking lot
Yeah.
trying to people loading up. Like I'm here for some. In fact, one lady asked me at a convenience store, "So you want a bag?" I was like, "If I need a bag, I'm at the wrong store. Like I shouldn't be buying that much stuff at a convenience store. What? It's so expensive."